You ever hear about them places that isn't on any map? Not anymore, at least. Towns that come and go like dreams, like ghosts in the mist. Well, there's one out there way off. Any known highway, and folks around these parts call it Hollowvale now. Nobody sets out to find Hollowvale. No, sir, it finds you. Usually when you've been driven a bit too long, with no place in mind and too many thoughts you're trying to leave behind. That's how this fella ended up. There. Didn't matter his name. What mattered was the way the road seemed to stretch longer than it should have. How the trees leaned a little too close. How the gas tank crept toward empty like it knew what was coming. Just as the needle kissed red, a battered sign appeared through the fog. Welcome to Hollowvale EST, 1907. Looked like it hadn't been touched since the year it claimed to be born. The kind of place where time seemed to stall, or maybe forget to tick at all. He turned in, tires scrunching over old cobblestone, and the world behind him faded without a sound. Town looked like a picture from a forgotten storybook. Rows of little houses with white picket fences, American flags faded to ghosts, and store windows full of mannequins wearing clothes no one's worn since the 50s. There was a gas station, to pump so old it should have been rusted solid. But, wouldn't you know it, it still worked, hummed to life like it had been waiting for him. He stepped inside, just to see if anyone was around. Place smelled of grease and old paper. Behind the counter sat a man with glassy eyes and a grin that looked painted on. Never said a word. Just pointed toward a bathroom key, hanging from a nail like it'd been there forever. He didn't need the bathroom, but something told him to take the key anyway. As he walked the town, he saw people, but not really. A kid push in, a tricycle in slow, endless circles. A woman brushing her porch with not a speck of dirt in sight. An old man rocking back and forth on a chair, eyes closed. Smile stitched to his face like it had been sewn there long ago. And the strangest part, every single clock on walls, in shops, even wristwatches, all stopped at the same time. 11:50-9. It was like the town had taken one final breath, and just held it. In the middle of it all, stood a statue, a child holding a lantern up to the sky. Beneath it, a plaque read, "To guide the forgotten home." And just then, he turned around. The road was gone. No car, no highway, no sky behind him, only fog, thick, heavy, waiting. Asterisk now. Any normal man would have turned right back toward that gas station. Maybe pounded on the windows, shouted at the silent mannequins, prayed for a sign that this was all just one bad dream. But this fella, he didn't. He stood real still, the kind of still where you can hear your own heartbeat echoing in your ears, feel the sweat chill on your back like a second skin. And in that silence he heard it, the faintest sound, like a ticking clock, only slower, thicker, like time was struggling to remember how to move. He walked down the main street, eyes catching on every detail. A diner with a fresh pie in the window, steam still rising, even though the inside was empty. A barbershop with a spinning pole, red and white swirling in molasses-like motion, yet no faces behind the glass. No breath on the other side. At the end of the street, he found the hotel. 3 stories tall, windows dark, ivy crawling up the brick like long-forgotten fingers. The sign above the door flickered, the hollow, arms in. The lights blinked just enough to draw him in. Inside, it smelled like rain on dust and old linen. The lobby was neat, too neat, couch cushions fluffed, a key rack on the wall with every hook full, except one room 304. That was the only key missing. He didn't even mean to check in, didn't remember going up the stairs. But his hand found the knob of that room like it belonged there. The door creaked open slow, like it had been waiting for him. Inside, everything was clean, freshly made bed, curtains drawn, lamp lit, but there was something off. The mirror above the desk showed the room clear as day. But when he passed in front of it, it showed nothing, no reflection. No man, just the room, empty. That's when the ticking came again, louder now, closer. He turned toward the closet. The door was shut, but the shadows beneath it flickered like candlelight. He reached for the handle, but stopped. Because he finally understood. What was wrong with the town? It wasn't just quiet. It wasn't just empty. It was remembering like it was replaying the past, on a loop. Every pie in the diner, every tricycle squeaking on the sidewalk, every rock of the old man's chair. They were all part of the same scene, trapped in time, frozen in routine. The town wasn't alive. It was performing over and over and over. And he'd just stepped onto its stage. Asterisk. He stepped back from the closet, not out of fear. Not yet, but out of something deeper, something colder. A gut-wrung instinct that whatever lay behind that door wasn't just watching, it was waiting. And in that exact moment, the air inside room 304 shifted. Like the entire room exhaled. The ticking stopped. Dead silence. Then, a whisper. Not from the closet. From the ceiling, he tilted his head slowly upward, and there, above the bed, the chandelier began to sway. Gently at first, then with the kind of rhythm that matched a heartbeat. Back and forth, metal creaking like rusted bones. That's when the photos began to appear. First on the walls, then on the desk, the bed, the floor. Photographs of him, in the diner, at the gas station, walking through the empty streets. Even one, standing outside room 304. He hadn't taken a single one. He reached down and picked one up, careful not to smudge the edges. It was glossy, fresh, like it had just rolled out of a darkroom. The timestamp in the corner read 0:01 a.m., but that wasn't the disturbing part. No, it was the figure in the background. A tall, thin silhouette, standing just behind him in every image, unmoving, faceless, watching. That's when he heard it again, the whisper. No, more like a hush, a warning, a breath drawn in reverse. He turned fast. The closet door was open now, just a crack, enough to show a sliver of absolute black, not darkness, but something beyond it. A void that pulled, slow and steady, like the breath of something ancient and asleep. It reeked of wet stone, mold, and something burnt. And that's when he saw the coat hanging neatly in the closet. It was his, the same coat he was wearing. Same tear on the sleeve. Same button missing near the collar. But when he looked down at himself, he wasn't wearing a coat anymore. He stepped back, eyes wide, and the door slammed shut. He bolted from the room, feet pounding down the hall. But the hallway didn't end. It looped. Turn after turn, floor after floor. Always room 304, waiting for him at the end. The number never changed. Time had folded in on itself. He wasn't inside the hotel anymore. He was inside the town's memory. And it was beginning to forget how to let go. Asterisk. The floors beneath him softened. Not in texture, but in time. Each step echoed a second later than the last. The wallpaper peeled in reverse, crawling back up the walls like vines. Dust floated upward. Cracks sealed. Even the rotten scent of the corridor began to smell like fresh paint. He was walking backward, not his body, reality itself. A painting on the wall restored itself as he passed, a picture of the town square, clean and bustling. But when he turned to look again, everyone in the painting had no faces. Blank ovals were eyes and mouths. Should have been. He reached out, touched the canvas. His fingertips sank in like the surface of still water. Another blink. Suddenly, he was there inside the town square, but not like before. It was bright now. Daylight, people bustled, cars honked, children played, laughter filled the air like music. But no one looked at him. No one saw him. He screamed. He waved. He walked directly in front of people, but they passed through him like mist. He was a shadow, a thought, a ghost haunting a memory that didn't need him anymore. The town hadn't vanished. He had a bell tolled once, and everyone stopped. Moving, all at once. Frozen, mid-step, mid-smile, mid-breath. Their bodies locked. But their heads turned, all of them, slowly, unnaturally, until every eyeless face pointed straight at him. And then, in unison, they grinned. Not with mouths, but with the stretch of their skin, tearing slightly at the cheeks, revealing shadow underneath. The bell tolled again, and they began walking toward him, slow, rhythmic, steady. He turned to run, but the square was gone. Now it was night again. The buildings twisted, warped like they'd melted and rehardened in wrong shapes. The sky was flat black, no stars. Only that same single clock tower, ticking in reverse. Tick, tick, tick. He stood at the center of it all. Town square. Hotel, woods, every location bleeding into one. A loop folding on itself. Like a vinyl stuck on a scratch. No way out. No forward. No back dot. And then came the voice. Not a whisper. Not a scream. A deep, groaning tone from beneath the cobblestones. You stayed too long. The ground cracked. A hand, black and long-fingered, burst through and grabbed his ankle. Now the town stays with you. He was yanked downward. Stone shattered. Dust erupted. Screams his own faded into the echoing dark as he plunged beneath the square. Not falling, not floating. Sinking, like the earth itself swallowed him in thick, cold tar dot, and then stillness. He landed hard. His flashlight flickered. Weak beam, but just enough to show the space around him. It was a mirror of the town, underground, upside down. A version stitched in rotten bone, where houses were formed from splintered coffins. Lampposts made from twisted spines, and every window glowed. Red, pulsing like an open wound. The hotel stood here too, but it leaned. Bent at the middle like something had tried to fold it in half. He stepped forward, and the ground beneath his feet whimpered. The soil was made of faces faded, their mouths open in silent, endless screams. He saw his own among them, pale, wide, dash-eyed. He backed wailing to find the townspeople waiting behind him, the faceless ones. But down here, they had mouths. Gaping, endless mouths, stretched where eyes should be, where noses once were, where their necks ended. No words came from them, just a sound, a wet slurping chorus, like meat being chewed in a locked room. He ran. No direction, just away. But with every step, the ground shifted. Buildings blinked out. Streets curled. He was in the hotel lobby again. The piano played itself. The bell on the desk rang. And the painting on the wall, the town square, changed. This time, it showed him in the center, trapped in the painting, mouth open in a scream. He turned. The front door stood open, outside. Normal daylight, cars, trees, sky, a chance. He ran to it, leaped through, only to land back in the hotel hallway. The same peeling wallpaper, the same flickering light. But something was different. His reflection in the wall mirror didn't move. It just smiled. A new voice, deeper now, echoing inside his skull. You tried to leave without paying. The walls bled. Black handprints smeared across the door. Handles? The clock above the stairs ticked violently forward, backward. Stuck, then shattered into 1,000 teeth. He screamed. But no sound came. His mouth was gone. His mouth was sealed shut. Skin stretched over where lips once parted. No teeth. No scream. Just the rise of panic tearing through his chest. He clawed at his face fingers, slipping on the smooth, unnatural skin. Breathing through his nose now came ragged, shallow, like the air was being rationed by some unseen force. The hotel lights dimmed, flickered, then exploded in bursts each, pop echoing like bones snapping. From the end of the hallway, they came. Not footsteps dragging. The sound of flesh sliding along wood. A wet, elastic shuffle, slow but certain. He turned and ran. No destination. No plan, just desperate momentum. Every hallway led to another. Every door opened to a room with himself inside. In different forms, sung from the ceiling, sleeping, in a blood-filled tub, buried under sheets of newspaper clippings that screamed, "Man trapped in Phantom Town." No one remembers him. Was he ever real? One door opened to his childhood bedroom, only. Now the windows looked out into the upside-down town again. He slammed the door shut, and it locked. From the outside behind him, the closet door creaked open. No movement, just whispers. They hissed. Names. Names of people he never remembered meeting, until now. Faces flickered in his memory like broken TV signals. School friends, a bus driver, a girl he once sat beside at a funeral, all of them, connected to this place somehow. He was never just passing through. He had been pulled back, summoned. The town didn't vanish. Every 24 hours it fed every 24 hours. He dropped to the floor, curled into himself. Eyes clenched tight. But the ground shook. The boards beneath him groaned. Then, he was lifted by hands unseen. Dozens, hundreds, all gripping him, tugging at his limbs like meat being poured me. They didn't hurt him. Not yet. They held him still, and in front of him, the hallway stretched dash forever, lined with hotel doors, each one labeled with a time. 3 a.m., 3:01 a.m., 3:02 a.m., all the way down, and at the end, a mirror, inside it, his true self. Not the man who drove in a day ago, but the man who had never left. Asterisk. The mirror didn't reflect light. It absorbed it, like the glass was made of old blood and ash, pulsing faintly with memories too heavy to stay buried. He was drawn to it. Feet no longer his own. Every step forward felt like walking deeper into water. Resistance thickened around him. The air turned syrupy. Each breath gurgled. Inside the mirror, the town churned backward, in reverse motion, clouds unraveling, buildings crumbling and rebuilding, people walking back into shops, coffins closing, babies crying back into wombs. Time wasn't moving forward. It was rewinding. He reached the edge of the glass. His reflection stood perfectly still, frozen, smiling. But behind his reflection, something shifted. Something not smiling. A towering figure in a preacher's coat. Face stitched into a mockery of holiness. Eyes like cracked marbles floating in black honey. It didn't blink. It didn't move until the clock struck 3:24. The hands of the preacher's watch melted. His mouth tore open, wider than any human jaw could stretch, and out spilled a scream made of wind. Ripping across the corridor like a storm of knives, the mirror shattered not outward, but inward, sucking everything near. He tried to pull away, but his legs locked. The town wanted him inside the mirror. It wanted to keep him preserved, like all the others. He wasn't the first. He was just the first. To stay this long, the last piece of glass hovered mid-air, vibrating with energy, showing one final vision, a news broadcast, grainy and half-tuned, showing his face. Missing for over a decade. Last seen entering a town that doesn't exist. And beneath the headline, he's not missing. He's remembering. Suddenly, impact. His body collided with the floor of the hotel, again back in the lobby. No broken glass, no mirror, just stillness. Outside the windows, dawn had returned. The town stood quiet. But he knew now it wasn't real. None of it was real, or worse. It was too real, so real it refused to let go. Asterisk, he staggered out into the street. The light of morning seemed wrong. Too pale, too still. Shadows didn't stretch, they coiled. Birdsong echoed, repeating the same four-note pattern, like a broken record on loop. He wasn't in the town. He was in its memory. The people walking past didn't blink. Their faces were blurred, like smudged oil paintings pretending to smile. They waved at him, in perfect sync, like puppets with snapped strings all at once. The man in the brown hat reappeared. But this time, his body flickered, frame by frame. He pointed to the sky. The sun reversed direction, time looped. Again, he checked his watch. 3:23 a.m. The same ticking sound started in his ears. Fast, loud, urgent. He ran past the bakery, the church, the newspaper stand with the same front page. Lost boy returns to lost town. His photo was on the cover. But he wasn't a boy anymore. He was older. Much older than the years he'd spent there. And yet the town hadn't aged a day. Every corner he turned looped back to the hotel. Every door he opened led to the mirror. Every breath he took deepened the fog in his lungs. The realization hit hard. He was no longer visiting the town. He was the town, another piece of it. A whisper in its haunted lungs. On the final loop, as he stood on the hotel steps, watching the world rewind for the 1000th time, a child walked up to him. Same coat, same face. It was him, himself. A younger version, stepping into the town for the first time. He tried to shout, warn him, beg him to turn around, but his mouth wouldn't open. His throat had no voice anymore, because ghosts don't speak, they just remember. And as the boy stepped past him, into the heart of the vanishing town, the man faded into smoke, blown away on a wind that never stopped. The clock struck 3:24 a.m. One last time the world blinked, the town reset, and it was ready for the next visitor.